Okay, chapter 18, day 1. We're going to focus on what are confidence intervals for means, or some people call these averages. So you'll hear me use that word mean or average interchangeable through this. We've done confidence intervals for proportions, but now we're going to do them for numerical data that we can take an average of. So, some important notation that we need to understand. X with the bar over the top, we call that X bar. And that is the mean that we get from our data set. S is the standard deviation from the data, and sometimes you'll see it with a little X right next to it. And N is our sample size. So those three things we have to be able to know in order to calculate a confidence interval. And usually they're given to us in the question, or they give us data and we have to let the calculator calculate those pieces of information. The general formula that we use is X bar plus or minus Z star again, certain number of standard deviations, times our standard error. And I go back to the formula sheet and I copy down the pieces off the formula sheet. So again, Z star, depending on whether it's 90, 95, or 99, we're going to use these values in here. And for standard error, we're going to use, this is off the formula sheet as well, we're going to use S over the square root of N. And again, where S is the standard deviation from the data. So that formula up above turns into X bar plus or minus Z star S over the square root of N. And again, sometimes you'll see a subscript X here, but it's still the same S. There's only one type of S that we deal with. What we do is we get our answer from the calculator just like before. We still have to fill in the formula substitution, but the calculator is going to give us the output for the interval. So we're going to do stat test 8, which is T interval. And it's going to say data or stats. Well, you got to select data or stats depending on what you have given to you. If I give you the actual data values, all the individual pieces of data, you have to select data. And if I give you the stats of the data, like its mean, its standard deviation, then you'll select stats. So depending on what you have, you're going to select data or stats. Okay. It will give you an interval, and you're going to write down the interval just like we did before in a big set of parentheses. And then you're going to write the conclusion. And the conclusion this time sounds like the one we had last time, but it's we are whatever percent confident that the true mean, or you could say true average, is whatever they wanted you to find. We're going to take a look at a problem together and go through it. Okay? So, find a 90% confidence interval for the mean weight of a leprechaun. Well, I went out over St. Patrick's Day and I took some data of a bunch of leprechauns that I knew. And what did I find? I found that I had a mean of 6.41 ounces. I had a standard deviation of 1.36 ounces. And I did 11, and I just abbreviated leps because I couldn't fit leprechaun in. But I did 11 leprechauns. And this is what my data told me. So I'm telling you this data. You don't have the actual data values. These are the statistics from that data. Okay? So let's write our formula. And again, our formula is X bar plus or minus Z star standard error. So our X bar is 6.41. I fill in that blank. Z star, well, they said 90%. And if I go back to 90%, it's 1.645. So I put in 1.645 for my Z star. And then this is S over the square root of N. S, 1.36, square root of 11. I filled in my formula. Just like before, we have to fill in a formula. But now, we will go to the calculator, and we'll go to Stat, and arrow over so test is highlighted, and then option number 8. Okay? So, I have the stats. If I had data, then it would ask me what list is my data in. I don't have data, I have the actual statistics. I have the mean, I typed the mean in. I typed in the standard deviation. I typed in my sample size, and again, the confidence level is written as a decimal. So 0.90 is 0.9, and I go all the way down to calculate, and the calculator tells me my interval. Okay? So, I go to the calculator, and there's my output from the calculator screen. So I write my interval in parentheses. Okay, so I write 5.6668, comma 7.1532, and I write that down. And now I can write my conclusion. We are, well, I gotta go back up. What percent? 90% confident that the mean weight of a leprechaun is between this and this. But these are not percentages, these are ounces that the leprechaun weighs. So we state that we are 90% confident that the true mean weight of a leprechaun is between, and I just took these two values and rounded to like one decimal, 5.7 and 7.2 ounces. That's a confidence interval. Just remember, these are not percentages, these are actual numerical values, in this case, weights of a leprechaun.